Hey guys, we're about to get started here, and I just want to introduce some of our sponsors around here. Okay, so we're gonna go over here. Jennifer over here is with Entry NB. And Jennifer, do you want to give us like the 30-second overview of your company?
Hi, we are a home exterior and interior subscription company. We do one-time custom signs with house numbers, last names, or monograms. And then we ship monthly and quarterly faux floral, holiday, and seasonal decor, so you don't have to figure out how to make them look cute.
And if you come over here, we have a couple giveaways you're going to do. First off, the book we're giving away, The 30-Day Stay by Ziona and Sarah, of course, is autographed. It was my personal autographed copy, just so you know. So, Sarah, I do need a new one. But they both signed it, wrote little messages in here. It's going to be our book giveaway. So if you're interested in this book giveaway tonight, put a business card in here or just something with your name written on it. So that way we know who to call out. We'll give this away later. And you're giving away something else tonight too, right?
$199 gift card. It says makes a great Christmas gift.
So we'll do two giveaways here at this booth. Awesome. Joe. So Joe over here with Midwest Removal, can you give us the 30-second overview of what you do and then also what your giveaway is tonight?
Hello, everyone. My name is Joe. I'm the owner of Midwest Removal. We're a local professional junk removal service. We'll pretty much haul anything away that isn't hazardous or a dead body. We'll do estate clean-outs, appliance removal, carpet removal. Some differences between us and a roll-off container. You only pay for the volume that you use, and we have two-man teams that load everything for you. Call us today. We haul junk away. Our giveaway is a Woodford Reserve double oaked barrel. So come put your card up here. If you don't have a card, write your name and email. Sure.
I used these guys a couple times lately. I needed a property that we were in a transaction with. I needed cleared out. You guys came in within like a day's notice, got that cleared out, even loaded up another truck for us for an additional fee. So I appreciate that. And then I've had multiple clients that needed stuff moved out on the fly. And every single time you guys have come through, and I appreciate it. And it's just, it's more than just clean out. You got clean out, you got appliance recycling, you got carpet removal. So thank you guys. Appreciate you being a sponsor of the REIA. Over here, we have Marty McGuire with Blackstone Insurance Group, one of our gold sponsors. Marty, can you give us a 30-second overview of what you do and what benefits you have to real estate investors in the room?
Sure. Hi. Good to see you all again. Marty McGuire, Blackstone Insurance Group. I'm an insurance broker. I represent over 20 companies. I work primarily with real estate investors on their not only residential but commercial properties as well. So I take the information, I go out and shop it with a bunch of different carriers, find the best rates, make sure that we're periodically doing that to continue to get the best value on your insurance.
Marty was one of the first sponsors when I took over about 3 years ago. Has been with us all the way through, faithful. I know you probably service about 40% of our client list right now, and you've been servicing everything I do actually for way longer than that, over 10 or 15 years now. So appreciate you and everything you do. Rob with JM Real Estate Capital. We just had a fun. We just recorded you on the podcast, and so we got to learn a little bit about you and some crazy stories. But will you give us a 30-second overview of JM Real Estate Capital, what you do, and why you fly in from Atlanta every single month to be here with this group?
It's because this group is great. Rob, JM Real Estate Capital. You need money? We got plenty of it. You got a rental loan? We don't want your tax returns. We don't want your W-2s. You send them over. I charge you a nuisance tax. 30-year fixed, all over the country. You need a loan, give me a call. Number 844-WE-CLOSE. It's 844-WE-CLOSE. Visit my website, jmrecapital.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate everything you're doing for us and appreciate you supporting our local group here. And we're going to get started here in just 1 second with Sarah Weaver. Okay, so just got some announcements I'm going to go over here before Sarah comes on stage. It's the same stuff I go over, but just a little bit more updated, so I hope I don't bore you guys with this. But thank you so much for coming out. What a great crowd we have tonight. I knew Sarah Weaver was going to bring the big group in tonight, so a big shout out to Sarah for coming out to Omaha. Thank you, Sarah. Want to give a shout out again to JM Real Estate Capital. They just renewed with the Omaha REIA and REIA Radio podcast as a sponsor. So can we give a big round of applause for JM Real Estate Capital and Rob for sponsoring us again and helping us out? Tonight's drink sponsor is going to be DVG Realty. So thank you, DVG Realty. What that means is tonight, after this event is over, at the Burger Theory, just on the other side of the building, it's connected, so you don't need to go outside. The first $100 in drinks or so of domestic beers is going to be taken care of by DVG Realty. One thing that we do find is the best networking happens after the event happens. So you think, hey, maybe I don't want to do it. I want to go home early. Trust me, you want to hang out afterwards. And if you're really lucky, my counterpart over here, Owen Dashner, likes to just throw shots out in the wind. So he's like, shots. A couple times he says, I'll buy shots for the whole room. Right, Owen? He doesn't have no idea what we're saying. That's the best part right there. Again, a book giveaway is 30-Day Stay by Sarah Weaver and Ziona McIntyre. It's a signed copy that's personalized. How we do our books here is it's over there. So Jennifer, raise her hand. She's got a little spot. You can drop your name in the dish. We'll pull those at the end. What we do is we recycle all the books. So if you have ever gotten a book here, you got done reading it, that was amazing, staple your card in there. Bring it back. We'll give it away again. I know that copy would probably be really hard to give away since it is personally signed. I've never seen a signed copy come back, but that's the goal, and that's what we do. So we appreciate you doing it, and we did have some people bring it back last time, so thank you on that. If you have not listened to REIA Radio podcast, I'm going to give you some heads up on who we have coming before anybody else does. This hasn't been announced anywhere else, but if anybody listened to our podcast, REIA Radio, I see a handful of hands. Everybody doesn't have their hand up. If you could get on your phone and download it on your phone and give us a 5-star review and like and subscribe it, that means a ton to us. Also, if you want to recap any REIA that we've ever had, we put every REIA, not podcast, but every REIA event that's recorded by Denless and DB Video over here, it's on our YouTube channel, REIA Radio. And you can subscribe on there. Everything for the last 2.5, 3 years, every video is on there to find. So if there's a good speaker you saw in the past, you want to see him again, you can download it right there and watch. But upcoming in the podcast, tomorrow, we interviewed Jerry Schlickburn. Very interesting interview. It was one of those interviews we just started talking. We hit record and okay, we'll make a podcast out of it. That's literally how it went. And it went on for 3 hours. So yeah, that's our Joe Rogan side of the podcast I always tell you guys about. We interviewed John Hoytch, Trevor Shade. I know Trevor was out there. Yeah, Trevor, how was the podcast? Did you have fun on it? You have fun on our podcast? Yeah, so we interviewed Trevor over there. He's got a lot going on. We have Rob Fishbein that we just recorded with yesterday. We're interviewing Shelby Johnson on Friday. She is amazing. And then we had booked out. I literally went through my Instagram channel, and everybody that I follow that I like, I sent them a message, and I got about 10 people respond back that they're going to jump on it. So we got some good interviews coming on. I want to give a special thank you to the Holiday Inn. The free parking is REIA G. Ask one of the girls at the front desk if you did not pay for your parking. It is free. Take advantage of that. Also, if you have a membership card, when you order food tonight, show them your card to get 25% off your meal as being a member. So instant savings right there. And if you guys have way too much fun tonight and you need a room, they're only $99 with our code. And the code is AERKP. If you need a code for $99 rooms, you can hit me up. I'll give you that code. Tonight's event sponsor is Frankel. And Jordan, you want to come on up? And Jordan, he's my personal tax accountant. I've been with these guys since 2019, actually, before I took over the REIA. No, go ahead, come up. Get in the light, buddy. Get in the light. Jordan's actually going to be our presenter next month also, so just a heads up on that, going over tax. He was very kind to be willing to move you're supposed to be interviewing tonight, right? So we moved to January 9th, which is the second Tuesday because of the holiday. So just a heads up on that. But great firm, been with them for years now, and they know real estate investors. So I'll let you talk for a couple minutes, tell people about you and your company.
Awesome. Thank you, Ted. Appreciate the warm welcome. Hey, everybody. So obviously, we're getting towards year end. It's on people's minds. Taxes, finance, planning, doing all those things right. We have a good team in place to help you guys out as much as possible. We have people who are investors in our own firm who kind of know it first thing, really down to it. We're in it with you guys. At the end of the day, we just want to make sure you're prepared for it. And I'm going to go like a little bit of a lead in a sense that, I did my talk tonight and interview was a little bit, got pushed off, but I'm okay with that. I think it gives you guys a little bit more time to think about the questions and the hard questions that you want to talk about. And so I challenge you a little bit to challenge me next month on any of the questions that you guys have. And even potentially even just sending in some of your requests that you'd like to talk about would be quite helpful to get everybody, the information that they need to know for this next year, whether they're coming to us to help them out or just want to know or interested on how it's working for them and just want some more information on it. I think everybody will be better off having that. So I'll come with some ideas. I'm challenging you to help me out just a little bit too, but it'll all be good. And I look forward to it. Ted? Thanks, guys.
Thank you, man. Appreciate everything you do for us. Yeah. Okay. This is the time you've been waiting for. I got some upcoming events to go over with you, and then Sarah's going to get up here. So just a heads up, in December still, we have our Omaha REIA Luncheon. It's at the Rail Car, 144th and Blondo, Friday, December 15th, 11:30 to 1. That is next week already. So next week, Friday, we have our luncheon. It's in a private room in the back. We could seat about 50-some people right in there, 50, 51. We've only filled it to the max one time, so it's first come, first serve, just so you guys know. Next, we have the National REIA Zoom call. If you are if you're a member of this organization, you're a member of the national organization, that Zoom call is also on December 15th at 4 p.m. You can go on the omahareia.com website, go to the calendar to register for that event. It is free. In January, I mentioned it before, but we have Jordan Downey speaking. It's going to be on January 9th. Please mark your calendars. That's going to be on the second Tuesday because I don't think you guys will be alive on January 2nd to come to the event. So we did move it. Thanks for everybody's willingness to work with us, but you didn't have a choice on this one. And so Liquid Lending is our sponsor of that one. Our drink sponsor, again, is going to be DVG Realty. So thank you, guys. The flyers are on your tables if you need more information on that. Plus, there's a pile of flyers in the back. Luncheon is going to be January 19th, and also that Zoom call is going to be on January 19th also. So all that can be found on our website. We appreciate it very much. But to the event tonight. And when we get started here, if you guys do have some talking to do, or if you get phone calls to come in, we ask that you do take those in the hallway, just out of respect for our speaker tonight. And I will come around if you are being allowed, so I do appreciate it. So this is my introduction to Sarah. You know, I was listening to the BiggerPockets episode, and I must say I was completely blown away on her insights and expertise. I actually re-listened to it today. I was so blown away by her, just so you know. And her vision on real estate investing resonated with many of us in this room, especially since she dropped Omaha, and that got us all excited. And it was enlightening to experience and hear the approach to the property management investment strategies. What's even more compelling is that Sarah's connection to Omaha, discovering that she holds properties right here in our market, and underscored the relevance of the impact of her work to our community. When I reached out to Sarah, her response was gracious, as her reputation suggests. She generously agreed to be on our first non-local guest on our REIA Radio podcast, and which was the beginning of an incredible collaboration. Did you know you were our first non-local guest? No.
And then it turns out Owen and I are related.
Yeah,
so
hey,
that's what
small
town.
I'm getting into that. You just ruined that.
Sorry.
During the interview, we uncovered the delightful surprise that Sarah's roots trace back to Iowa, making her not just a regional expert, but also part of an extended family of our own co-host, Owen Dashner. The connection was only deepened in the bond that we share with her. Since then, we've had the privilege of meeting Sarah on several occasions, and each time we've been more impressed with her growth, her dedication, and her craft, and her unwavering commitment to education of others. Sarah's voice is now heard all over the globe. She speaks internationally and coaches real estate professionals with various corners of the world. Tonight, Owen and I stand here. Owen's over there, but I'm not standing here. So, hey, Owen, you can't hear anything. By the way, you're buying shots for everybody, Owen. I don't know if you heard me say it earlier. So tonight, Owen and I stand here just as hosts, but as friends, and for Owen and his family to introduce you to a woman who embodies the spirit of venture and drives for success and a heart of genuine mentorship. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please get your hands together and give a loud, warm welcome to Sarah Weaver.
All right. Thank you, Omaha. I am so excited to be here. There are a lot of familiar faces in the audience, which I am really proud, because when I invested here in Omaha, I had one friend. I also call her Grandma, and she happens to be here today. So can we give a round of applause to my grandma? And a very dear friend of mine, Sadie, I had her high school son at my unit today putting together furniture at the direction of Grandma while I taught via Zoom. And so I'm truly running an empire. It just happened to be from an Airbnb bathroom today. So thank you, Sadie, for letting me borrow your son. I really appreciate it. So I am so excited to be here because the properties that I bought in Omaha really did change my life. And I know a lot of people probably stand up on podcasts or on stages and say things like, it changed my life. But it really did, because my hunch is that some of you would like to have a little bit more money. Can I get a yes? Okay. Who would like a little bit more time? Who would like a little bit more freedom? All right. And who would like to quit their job? Yeah. If you're sitting next to your boss, just like give me a look. So me too. And because I bought a property in Omaha, I was able to do all of those things. I brought in more money. I had more time. I had so much more freedom because I quit my job. That's where you clap. Okay. All right. So we are going to talk about money, because I think money is really important, whether you believe so or not. I know that some people, especially in the great Midwest, and while I did not grow up in Omaha, I grew up just 3 hours south in the suburbs of Kansas City. Do we have any KU people in the crowd? Oh, 3? All right. Rock chalk. And I know that money can be an uncomfortable subject. And so I'm really lucky that one of the very first things that I did after I left KU is I taught English in South Korea. Yes, South, not North. And we really openly talked about money all the time, because me and my friends, no matter what their degree was, some of them were petroleum engineers or about to go to med school and thought a gap year in Korea would look good on their resume. I just wanted to drink soju and teach English to kids. And we all were making the exact same dollar amount. And so it made us incredibly rude about money. We would ask things like, how much did that cost? How much did you make last weekend? How much are you charging for that tutoring? And I brought those habits of talking about money back with me afterward. And so when my friends started getting big boy jobs, I'm like, how much are you making? Are they contributing to your 401k? What are you doing with that extra income? And they're like, what extra income? And that is when I started really diving into investing. But that's why I love the real estate community, is because we can talk really openly about numbers. And so I've put up quite a bit of numbers in my presentation. But if you guys have any questions, or if you're skeptical, or if you want to ask me anything, nothing related to money is off the table. So that's your permission to be a little rude when it comes to money. So we talked about money. Now let's talk about lifestyle. So you guys said that you want some more freedom. Give me an idea of something that you would like to do if you had a little bit more money. Travel. Anyone else? Anyone want to buy a boat? Anyone want to invite me on their boat? No? Okay. For me, it's absolutely travel. For anyone that follows me on Instagram, travel is like the thing that I fell in love with. I'm struggling to fall in love with anything else other than travel and real estate. And it has allowed me to see so many amazing places and appreciate the little things, especially about a beautiful place like Omaha. And so real estate has really helped me improve my lifestyle. I don't think that my clicker is working. Troubleshoot this. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about money. So who here could use an extra $10,000? I'm good. Who could use an extra $10,000? Can we give it up for Denlis? Is he not the best? I walked in and I handed him a new, I don't even know, what is that tripod thing called? A gimbal? A gimbal and a new iPhone. And I'm like, here, I don't know how to use these. So thank you, Denlis. He's playing with those right now. And so I was able to add $10,000 in less than 18 months. And so if you would like to add $10,000 a month, I struggle. I don't call it passive. I think anyone who here owns real estate. Is it really passive? No. So I won't use passive. But what I will say is that $10,000 comes in no matter where I am in the world. And this year I hit a very cool milestone. I visited my 51st country. And as a girl from Kansas whose own mother doesn't have a passport, this was a really, really big deal. And it was very intentional. I really prioritized travel over a lot of things. And it's really paid off. And so I'm very excited to tell you how money played a really big part in that. And then if you guys would like to win something, which I'm sure some of you do, go ahead and pull out your phone. And I am going to give away a free coaching call. But because I'm in town, and if you're not a weirdo, then we could do it in person. And we could have our coaching call over a beer or over coffee. And so if you go to this URL or on this QR code and you enter your information, you'll be entered to win a coaching call with me. We can do it in person if you'd like. And I will, of course, give you a book. I probably won't give you my book because hopefully you already own it. But I'll give you another book that's been important to me. So if you guys want to grab that while I continue, I'll also throw this up at the very end. And so my assistant will pick a winner tomorrow. Excellent. So tonight we're going to be talking about midterm rentals. And before I dive in, I'd love to know who here owns a rental property. Raise your hand. Keep your hand up. All right. Keep your hand raised if it's a furnished rental. Oh, quite a few of you. Okay. Now, those of you that own a furnished rental, how many of you are hosting people for 30 days or more? Keep your hand up. Oh, we have quite a few. Excellent. So when I talk about midterm rentals or medium-term rentals, I don't care what you call them, just buy my book. And when I'm talking about midterm rentals, it's a furnished rental. For those of you that don't know, it's nothing like absolutely mind-blowing. It's just like an Airbnb or an STR, except my guests stay for 30 days or longer. Thankfully, hopefully, it will continue to be like this. Omaha doesn't have any STR restrictions yet. If you guys could keep showing up to lobby for that for me, because I'm rarely here, I'd really appreciate it. So I will sprinkle in short-term stays here and there as needed, and then I call that like the hybrid method. So when the Berkshire Hathaway shareholders event, you better believe I switch it over to an STR if I can, or the College World Series, which I still have never been to, and I would like to cross that off my bucket list. But I'll stay at grandma's so that I can rent out my apartment for $150 a night. And so I do kind of play with the hybrid model. But when I talk about MTRs, that's all I mean, is that it's a furnished rental and I rent it for more than 30 days. So let's dive in. All right. Maybe. Den Liz, I still need you. They just want to win. That's all they want. Okay, that work? All right, we'll do that. Old school. Man, I love that there's a slide that says, let's talk about me. So I'll keep this brief because some of you graciously came up to me. Perfect, thank you. Some of you graciously came up to me and said that you follow me on Instagram. Thank you, Trevor and Rachel. I appreciate that. But for those of you that don't, I am Sarah Weaver. I'm a real estate investor. I'm a coach. I own and operate 3 companies, which I'll talk a little bit about in this presentation. So somewhat of a serial entrepreneur. But really, I'm just a girl from Kansas who is just putting one step in front of the other and trying to figure all this out. So as I mentioned, I have traveled to 50 countries on 6 continents, and I am going to my 7th continent in February with real estate investors. And if you are crazy enough and you want to come, I have 2 spots left. One of them does have to be a male, but there's a lot of men in this room, so I don't think that should be a problem. So if you would like to come to Antarctica and hang out with real estate investors as a business expense, come see me afterwards. And I have worked remotely for 8 years. So way before COVID, I worked remotely. And so a lot of my travels, my ability to visit 50 countries came from the ability to work for an American company from anywhere in the world. Give me a show of hands, who here can work remotely? All right, a little less than I assumed, but I think that the ability to work remotely led into some of my troubles as well as my ability to travel, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then I own 19 rentals in 4 states here, the great state of Nebraska. I also own in Iowa, in Des Moines and Urbandale, Iowa, as well as Kansas City, both on the Kansas side and the Missouri side. Do we have anyone else that owns in any of these states other than Nebraska? Where do you guys own? Iowa? Iowa, Missouri? Excellent. Anyone own anything in Kansas? What about you?
No, not yet.
All right, not yet. Well, we can fix that. So I picked up properties in these places for quite a few reasons, and I'll explain in the presentation. But the most important thing is that I manage all of them from afar. And so I know that you're sitting here in this room, so you likely live here or nearby. But I am telling you, if you wanted to pack up and leave or go on a 3-month vacation, because I heard someone at this table likes to travel, you can do that and you can manage your properties. I've been managing all of my properties from afar. A couple of them I've actually never even been inside. And then my businesses, they fit my lifestyle. So I woke up one day and I just said, I don't really want a job. And then I realized I wasn't going to quit either, because I'm actually quite sensible when it comes to money. I may jump out of airplanes and do crazy things like that. I don't know why the photo's not loading, but that's supposed to be a picture of me skydiving. And while I live my life a little bit risky when it comes to travel, and I'm online dating, so also risky. But if you are anything like me, you probably think really long and hard before you invest in real estate, and as do I. And so I made sure that I hit my magic number, what I called my FI number, my financially independent number, before I quit that JOB. So I might be brave in some ways, but when it came to quitting my job, I was a little bit chicken shit. So thankfully, it worked out. So what we're going to cover today is my motto. And while it might not apply to all of you, I think you guys will appreciate it. We're also going to talk about the action steps that I took. And that really is my hope for you. I hope that I make you laugh. I hope that I make you think, but more importantly, I hope I encourage you to take some action. This is not necessarily meant to be entertainment. I really want this to be education, and then I hope you go home and you do something about it, especially if it's finding me a deal. I'd really appreciate that. And then also, what's next? Like, what are you going to do after you take action on these things? So my motto, and for some reason, this is going to be very disappointing that my photos are not loading, but my motto is live where you want and invest where the numbers make sense. So I obviously think wonderful things about Omaha, and you can continue to live here. But if you also want to buy a house in Arizona or in Mexico and spend half the year there, I hope that by the end of this presentation, you can see how you can do both. All right. So the first thing that I did is that I created deal flow no matter where I was. And I think that this is really important. Actually, it was really fun. Rachel stopped me at the bar when I walked in. And by the way, there is a bar here. If anyone would like to pick me up a drink, I would appreciate that. And Rachel stopped me and I said, is there anything that I can make sure that I cover in my presentation? And she said, no, I just read your book. I don't think I have any questions. Well, but wait, you don't happen to have a deal, do you? And I said, you know what? I mean, it would be better if I had a deal, but I didn't, and I don't. But what instead, I'm going to teach you how to create your deal criteria in a way that deals will come to you more naturally because you're actually asking for what you want. And so that's exactly what I did. And all right, Dennis, I am going to need you. None of my photos are coming up. So while he does this, thank you. I'm putting you to work a lot today. Your wife is here. I tell her I really appreciate it. So, all right. So I created deals from anywhere. So during the pandemic, I was living in Bali, Indonesia, as you do as a digital nomad. For anyone that thinks that that's really cool, it's actually very, very basic. It's like where all the digital nomads go. You're like sitting next to someone. They're like, I'm a life coach. I'm like, and you're 20? What are you teaching? Oh, how to become a life coach. So you're like, oh, okay, pyramid, got it. So I moved to Bali thinking that that's what I should do. And I was in Malaysia having a girls' weekend when the president of the United States closed the borders. I'm sure for some of you, that was a week that a lot of you remember. And I remember it specifically because I had a backpack. Awesome. And I had a backpack and my suitcases were still in Bali, but my gut was telling me that I don't think you should get on the plane. I think you should go somewhere else. And no offense to my own lovely country, but I didn't think going back to the US was the right idea. So I wrote in my journal, best countries to be trapped in during a pandemic. And number 1, Australia. Number 2, any guesses? New Zealand. And number 3, Singapore, because I was in Malaysia. I was like, I can hop on a bus. I'll be in Singapore. It'll be expensive, but the food will be great. So I applied for a visitor visa to all 3 countries. And within 12 hours, I was on a plane to New Zealand. And I had a plan. I was like, I'm going to move to New Zealand. Again, I still had a job, was working for an American company. I was on the flight from Kuala Lumpur to Singapore when I realized I have not told my mother or my boss this new plan of mine of moving to New Zealand. And I think it's an 11-hour flight. So I better hop on Wi-Fi in Singapore and let everyone know. And that's exactly what I did. I flew to New Zealand. While I was in line for TSA, I opened Facebook Marketplace and I started looking at vans because that's what you do when you're a backpacker in New Zealand. You buy a van. Do we have any van lifers in the audience? Any RVers? Nice. Yeah, RV is a little more sensible than a van, to be honest. But I was on a low budget. I only owned 2 rentals at this point in the story. So I bought this really shitty but really amazing van for $5,000 US, which I sold for $4,927. 15 months later, so always an investor. And I bought this van, and this was my Instagram. I looked amazing. My photos looked amazing. All of you were navigating, believing or not believing in COVID and what that did to your life. And meanwhile, I was just living my best life in New Zealand. But the reality is that I cried myself to sleep, not because I was lonely or navigating online dating in a different country, but because I was writing so many offers. I was writing about 2 to 3 offers a week in about 9 different markets, Omaha included, and I wasn't getting any accepted offers. Anyone else experience that in real estate? Yeah? Can I hear you? Anyone else? Yeah. How does that feel when that happens? It sucks. It just really, really sucks. So while I was living my best life, I was also really, really frustrated because I joined a mastermind, which is what I thought you were supposed to do. And all the people around me were getting their offers accepted except for me. And I was like, this is just terrible. And then finally, my mentor sat me down. And if you don't have a mentor, I highly recommend it. It's like investing in yourself and taking the elevator to the penthouse instead of the stairs. And my mentor told me, well, you're a effing idiot. And I was like, okay, you got my attention. And she said, you are looking in too many markets. Anyone listening? How many markets was I writing offers in? 9. That was about 8 too many. And so she sat me down and she said, you need to pick one strategy and one market and get really, really clear, because you're talking to agents, which I think is what you should do. And it's what all of you should do. But they're not taking you seriously because you're being wishy-washy, because you're getting a deal over here. But then you're like, yeah, but maybe this agent over here is also going to send me a deal. And you can't really settle down if you keep playing the field. And so she told me one market, one strategy. And so I didn't say this out loud because she also happened to be my boss, but I said, okay, I'm going to house hack one more time because then I'm going to quit my job. And I think I'm going to house hack in Omaha. And then I was like, rephrase, I am going to house hack in Omaha, Nebraska. That is what I'm going to do. And so from this van, I posted these beautiful photos, made everyone jealous. And then I sent this text message to a real estate agent who I really wish was here tonight. His name is Chris Benson, if any of you know him. And I met Chris on a Facebook group. This could have been you if you were a real estate agent. But it happened to be Chris Benson that I built a relationship with via Facebook from New Zealand. And I sent him this text. And this is an actual screenshot from my Google Voice. So it says, hi, Chris. I got distracted the past 2 months and realized that was a mistake. I'm also a little dramatic. I am 100% committed to buying in Omaha. I want a value add 2 to 4 unit property with $250 of cash flow per month per door. I'm open to up to $15,000 of reno if the numbers make sense. I want Omaha. And then I put a smiley face to let them know I'm still friendly. Price under $200,000 if 2 unit and up to $400,000 if 4 unit. I have a lender. I'm pre-approved and ready. I have access to hard money if I need to position myself for a quick 2-week close, but would much prefer conventional financing. Do we have any agents in the room? Have you ever received a text like this? From him? Agent, have you guys received a text like this? Do you receive texts like this very often? No. So investors, these are the types of text messages that you should be sending your agents. Rachel, you need to get really specific about what you're looking for, because looking for a deal, get in line. We're all looking for a deal. Actually, we're all looking for a good deal. But what's a good deal to me and what's a good deal to Wyatt are 2 totally different things. So tell your agent exactly what you're looking for, and if they are worth their weight, they will go find it. Could I be more specific? Absolutely. But see the timestamp on that? That was March 18th, 2021. And I've learned a thing or 2 since then, but this was good enough. So any guesses on what Chris Benson did? Yeah. He texted me 4 days later, I have a 4-plex for you. And if I had known that I would show this text to now thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, I probably would have responded a little bit more professionally. But there it is. I said, Yahoo, let's see it. And he sent me that photo, and he emailed me the purchase price, the current rent, the market rent, the estimated renovation costs, the estimated insurance, property taxes. I put it in my little calculator, and I wrote an offer that day. And it worked. because I think some of you have seen this building, or at least this photo, and I bought it. And I bought it sight unseen, 8,000 miles away from my van. And when I got through the inspection period, I knew that I was gonna make it to close. And so I sold that van and I bought a 14-hour flight to LA and then another flight to Omaha. And that is within an hour of me seeing the place for the first time. And I normally tell this part of the story, and I'm a little nervous to tell this part, but I'm gonna stick to my guns. Chris Benson, he kept telling me, Benson is so hip. And I'm like, it is Omaha. Stop using the word hip. Like I am gonna cancel my contract if you say the word hip one more time. And when I pulled up to my property, I of course drove past it and drove down the Benson Strip. Has everyone here been to the Benson Strip? Yeah, has everyone had a nice cocktail on the Benson Strip? Yeah. Yeah, he was right. It is pretty cool. I'm not gonna use the word hip, but I do in my listing description because I owe Chris Benson a lot. And I'm really glad that I bought this property. So any questions at this point about sending a text like that to your agent? Any questions about finding an agent? Raise your hand if you're a real estate agent and you would like to work with more investors. Go ahead and stand up. Yeah, those of you looking for a deal, these are your friends. These are the people that you want to know, what is your favorite type of whiskey? What are your children's names? What do I need to do to get to the top of your list? If you guys are not taking notes, I highly recommend it. All right, you guys can sit down. Thank you. So I think investor-friendly agents are the best way to find deals because then I can focus on doing what I do best, which is focusing on my cash flowing businesses. Do we have entrepreneurs in the room? Yeah, I love the cash flow from rentals, but I also love the cash producing businesses that I have because those businesses is what then I use the money for to buy rental properties. And so I'm gonna continue to focus on making money, and I want my real estate agent out there pounding the cement looking for deals like this. I think some real estate investors own this. Are the sellers who sold me this, are they in the room? No? Okay. They're two commercial dudes, I think. All right, so here are the numbers. So I bought this May 2021, and I bought it for $320. You guys think that was a good deal? Yeah. The current rent is $850. I have one long-term tenant, and I have 3 medium-term tenants paying $1,875, bringing me in $6,475. And my principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, PITI, is $2,017. Who here would like this deal? Yeah? You guys like it? Yeah, me too. My long-term tenant actually moved out last month. And so I am currently furnishing my unit. I should say my grandma is furnishing my unit because she's so stinking helpful. And this will be my projected rental income for next month. And I feel really good at $1,875 because most months I'm bringing in about $2,000 a unit, maybe $2,200 is really the highest that I get if I list it at the right time in the right unit on Airbnb. But $1,875 is what I get all day long and what I have been getting almost every single month since I listed it in 2021. And so this is how I quit my job because I realized that with this cash flow alone, I could always move into a van and live off of that cash flow. But the goal is to not live in a van. So I furnished it. And I posted these photos on the internet, and the internet went wild. Actually, I think just my grandma and my mom liked it. But a few people commented because I said I furnished this from 8,000 miles away because I closed on the deal using power of attorney while still living in New Zealand. I did occupy, you lenders, calm down. I did occupy the property within 30 days, but not without having my team furnish my unit. So I told the internet. My team was my mom, my dad, my grandma, and I'm pretty sure my grandpa just sat there Probably bitching. So that was my team. And the internet was so impressed. They were like, wow, that is just amazing. I live in California and I've always wanted to buy something like in a different state, but I just didn't know how I was going to furnish it. And I said, well, you could hire my team to do it for you. And that is how REIA Design Services was born. So now I own a company with an actual team. My mom did not want to be hired. Grandma, she's busy. And so I have an actual team, a team of 5, and we will analyze, furnish, and launch your furnished rental for you. Even if you're in town, we can do that for you. If you don't like decorating, or you like decorating too much and you don't know how to follow a budget, we can help you do that. And this year, we just furnished our 75th unit in 11 states, I believe. We've furnished 3 in Omaha. Do I have any REIA clients in the audience? Oh, it's a shame. My Omaha client, he's smoking hot. So if you're single, come find me and I'll send you his Instagram. So my client in Omaha, yeah, his unit looks great. So REIA Design is probably one of my favorite businesses because this is the one business that I operate truly as an owner. I hired and delegated so well that I work about 45 minutes a week within this company. And I'm very excited because we have just decided to incorporate as an S Corp, which if anyone here knows, that means that we made a good amount of money that makes sense. So I'm very excited to have a mid 6-figure business that I own and operate, all because I posted a photo on the internet. I found a challenge that people were having, and I said, I think I can find a solution for that. So back to the MTR strategy and why I think you should consider it for your units. So has anyone driven by these buildings? Does anyone recognize them? Yeah, a couple. It's like very uncomfortable being like, this is what I own and you guys all know where it is. I'm also living in one of the units for the next couple of months, so please be nice. So I saw this lovely for rent sign in the yard of the building next door, and any guesses on what I did? I called him and I asked a lot of questions. A lot of the questions I already knew the answer because you better believe I looked him up on Facebook, I looked him up on LinkedIn, and I looked up his tax record. Sadie probably helped me look up some county assessor information. And I knew the answer to a lot of the questions I was asking, but I just wanted to see how interested he might be in selling. I decided not to say anything over the phone, and I was patient, which if anyone knows me well, I'm not a very patient person. But lucky for me, I knew that he mowed his own lawn. How did I know that? He owns a brand new F-250 and he wears Lululemon shorts. And so I assumed that was probably the owner. And he was mowing his own lawn. And before I walked over across my own driveway to introduce myself, I looked in the mirror. And Sarah a year ago would be so embarrassed that I'm telling you this, but I'm telling you this part of the story because I think it's so important. And I looked in the mirror and I said, you're going to buy the building next door. You are buying the building next door. I have already bought the building next door. And I walked across my driveway. I scared the living bejesus out of him because he was mowing. So I'm glad that we all have our limbs still because I did scare the shit out of him. But I introduced myself, and I just introduced myself as I'm just a girl. I bought this building. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I just wanted to give you my number in case I see anything with your property or, we can swap information. Maybe I can mow your lawn. I've never mowed a lawn, so I was not actually going to do that. But I just wanted to start out by adding value. And he looks at me and he's like, what'd you buy that for? I said, I just bought it for $320,000. His eyes got as big as ping pong balls, and my internal dialogue was like, got him. And he goes, oh, interesting. And he's like, sorry, what did you say? What'd you say you do for a living? And I was like, well, I'm a part of this mastermind. So I help real estate investors, learn about real estate investing. He goes, oh, so you know a lot of real estate investors. I'm like, yeah, well, a few. He's like, would you know someone that would want to buy my building? And inside, I'm like, yeah. And on the outside, I'm like, yeah, maybe. And I was like, well, I don't have my phone on me. And he goes, I'll get mine. And he sprinted. He's in very good shape, but he's probably in his mid 50s. And he sprinted to his truck. And I'm just like, I got him. He sprints to his truck and he grabs, well, I love it. He grabs his phone and a piece of paper. I was like, yes. So I put my number into his phone. And if you're in sales, you always also get their number. So on the pen and paper, he wrote down his phone number. And I walked back into my building and I realized I didn't have any money. Because in the meantime of texting Chris Benson that text, I also was kind of double playing. And I texted a really similar text to an agent in Des Moines. And I was under contract on 2 duplexes in Des Moines. And I'm like, shit. Like I've read books about, private lending and hard money and partners, but it all sounds kind of scary. And I'm just a girl. And I realized I was like, okay, I need to buck up and I need to figure it out. So I brought this challenge to my accountability group. And if you don't have an accountability group, I highly recommend one because they are who I called almost every other day when I was like, I am freaking out because I'm doing a long distance BRRRR in a city I've never been in, Des Moines, and I'm trying to get under contract with the property next door, and I have exactly the down payment in my bank account and no additional money. And so I partnered for the first time. A girl was in the right place at the right time, and I decided to partner with her on that building, and we bought it. Feel free to clap. No, I'm just kidding. No, just kidding. So here are the numbers on that building. So because he knew that I purchased this for I purchased the one next door for $320. I had to purchase this one for $328 because you got to stroke their ego a little bit. And the current rent was about $775 a unit, which I think was probably market rent. It's a 1-bedroom, 1-bath in Benson. And the income would have been $3,100. With a PITI or principal interest taxes insurance of $2,000, it's not super sexy cash flow. If you guys can't read in the back, I have down here at the bottom that I take the $3,100 and then I set aside about 30%. 5% for CapEx, 5% for maintenance and repairs, 10% for property management, 8% vacancy, and then about 2% for utilities and lawn care, which I'm able to calculate because I own the building next door and I know the utilities. So it's a cash flow of $167 per month on a 4-plex. Who is not excited about this deal? Yeah, wasn't very sexy, was it? And like a lot of units for not a lot of cash flow. So I knew something. I knew about the medium-term rental strategy. Now we're looking at $7,500 of rental income instead of $3,100. And I do up the utilities and the lawn care because you're in charge of utilities and lawn care. And so who's interested in this deal? Yeah, it's very, very attractive. And I had the concept proven by the building next door. So I knew my vacancy was actually about 3% because I've really zeroed in on how to stay occupied at the rate that I want them to pay. And so I feel really good about 8% vacancy on an MTR. For those of you that don't know, 8% vacancy is 1 week every quarter. So if you have a guest check in for 2 to 3 months, which on average they stay 13 weeks, if it does take you a whole week to find a new tenant, it's still 8% vacancy. I typically do a 2-day turnover. I do sometimes, even yesterday, I did a same-day turnover. My cleaner hates me when I do that, but I don't care because I really like a same-day turnover because that means that unit is 100% occupied. So those are the numbers. And so sometimes I feel like I can just end a presentation on the MTR strategy just with that alone. Cash flow is why I love it. But I also love it for the flexibility. I mentioned earlier that I do often switch it over to a short-term rental, especially at those times I mentioned, like the College World Series, the Berkshire Hathaway shareholder event, and really just some of the summer months. If I can strategically have a travel nurse or an MTR guest stay in the unit and then leave about springtime, that's when I start doing short-term stays. And with short-term, just so you guys that are wondering about Airbnbs, I typically bring in about $2,300 a month. So that is higher, but it's not high enough above 1875 that it really makes it worth it to completely switch over to the short-term rental strategy, especially come this time of the year. Nobody's coming to Omaha on a Tuesday in November or February. And so that's why I love the medium-term rental strategy, is because people are coming. And they're coming for a lot of different reasons. If anyone has read my book, has anyone read my book? You know, I talk a lot about travel medical professionals, so traveling nurses, they still are really staying strong. So please ignore any noise that you're hearing on the internet where people are saying that it's slowing down. In Omaha, it is not slowing down. They are coming in droves and they continue to book my unit, and they find my unit on a website called furnishedfinder.com or on Airbnb. Right now, I'm 90% booked through Airbnb. But 4 months ago, I was like 70% booked from Furnish Finder. And those are the only two places that I get tenants. I am listed on Zillow, but I haven't gotten a lead from there, or at least if they find it, they head over to Airbnb. And so those are the three places that I list. But not just travel medical professionals book with me. I've had construction workers. I've had people visiting their family. I just recently had a digital nomad, which I thought was funny because I never thought I would have a digital nomad come to Omaha, but he lives in New York. He lives in a tiny apartment with a roommate. His mom lives here in Omaha, and he thought it would be nice to get out of the city and come here. So he stayed in my unit for 6 weeks. Then today I checked in someone whose wife is having multiple transplants. And so he will be staying in the unit to get some sleep. He's sick of staying at a hotel. And then when his wife leaves the hospital, they likely will live in the unit for about a month or two until they move back to the small town that they're from. I unfortunately also have another guest whose husband is in the ICU, almost the exact same story. She's tired of living in a hotel. I've hosted people who are renovating their house. And because I've renovated before, I also blocked off the month after them because I knew that they would call me to extend. So when she panic called me to say, oh my God, can we extend? I'm like, yes, I know. And so there's lots of different reasons that people want to stay at an Airbnb for a long time. I'm a great example. I often will go to a city for a month. This summer, I lived in London for a month. I was in Switzerland for 2 weeks, and I booked all through Airbnb. And so I'm also a user of the Airbnbs and MTRs. So as you guys know, I literally wrote the book on this strategy because I really think it's a game changer. If you are a real estate investor that thinks that an STR or a short-term rental is too much work, I agree with you. I hate a 2-night or a 3-night stay because it's all of the questions. How do I use the toaster? How am I such a moron that I can book on Airbnb, but I don't know how to use a Keurig? And all of these things. And even though everything is automated, my booking comes from Airbnb. It automatically goes to Hospitable. Hospitable automatically talks to my cleaner. A code is automatically uploaded into my Schlage Encode app. It's all automated. But you know what it still does is it takes up mind space. I'm still always thinking, did the cleaner really get there? Okay, I can see on the Schlage Encode that she got there, but is she gonna text me that there's a problem? And then how quickly can I solve that problem before the 3 p.m. check-in? All of that takes up mind space. If you have one Airbnb and you're a chill person, congratulations. But I had 9 basically overnight, and I'm not a chill person. And so it was taking up so much mind space, and I wasn't getting filthy rich. Like my friends who own Airbnbs in LA and Joshua Tree and maybe the Smoky Mountains, their nightly stays are, $700. Mine is $74. I was like, this is not worth it. And so that is why I love the medium-term rental strategy. Not only is the income 2 to 2.25 more than long-term rent, but it's about 90% less stressful than an Airbnb. Because one, a lot of the tenants are what I consider like professional MTR guests. So they know the drill. This is probably their 4th nursing assignment or their 50th Airbnb that they've stayed in. And so they know how to work a Keurig. They know how to troubleshoot a Wi-Fi box. You unplug it and you plug it back in. And they know that I don't want to talk to them just as much as they don't want to talk to me. And so I love the type of guest that stays in my unit, and my units are really cute. And so they're so relieved to not be in what looks like, oh man, I normally say granny suite, but my grandma's here, so that feels really rude. But you know, it's the other MTR competitors, they're not decorating their units very nice. Omaha has really turned up the competition, though. There are some stunning Airbnbs. So if those are your guys's, congratulations, they are beautiful. It was not like that 3 years ago. And so the space is getting more crowded. Hopefully they read my book, and that's why they're doing it. But if you operate your furnished rental as a professional, which I know a lot of you will do, it's not that stressful, and the income is fantastic. I'm going to pause here for any questions about MTRs. Yes.
Hi. Okay, so it sounds like with nurses, are they typically booking well in advance, or are they booking to stay like that week?
Yeah, great question. On average, they're booking 3 weeks out. So that not chill version of myself hates that. Like I look at my calendar and I'm like, I'm vacant. But yesterday I had that same day turnover. That guest booked 2 days before. I have someone book for the 6th, so tomorrow, and he's gonna stay 84 days. And so I don't like that they do it last minute, but I can't control that. But some of them do. And then it's funny, when I tried to build relationships with recruiters, which I know some of you probably have tried that as well. So the recruiters are the ones that place the nurses, and sometimes they help with housing. I built these relationships with recruiters because, believe it or not, I love talking to people. And I built these relationships, but they wanted to book so far in advance, and I didn't want to leave a gap. And so the recruiters, while we're on good terms, we don't typically see eye to eye, or we can't find anyone, or I'm just fully booked and they're calling me, hey, I have a last minute. I'm like, I'm booked. But that is another way that you can find guests is working with recruiters. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, great question. So the question is...
Can you repeat that so
yep.
online they can hear it?
So the question was, do you sync your Airbnb and your Furnish Finder? I wish. Furnish Finder is not a user-friendly platform. I know the CEO very well. The director of marketing and I were just talking yesterday. They know. They went from being a very small idea to being Airbnb overnight with about 70 employees. And so they know that they're not user-friendly, and they are really working on it. And so my solution is I connect through Hospitable. So Airbnb communicates with Hospitable. And then there's a button that says add new booking. So this is not automated. When I have a Furnish Finder booking, those of you that don't know, Furnish Finder is not an OTA, not an online travel agency. So they just get leads. It's kind of like a Craigslist for people that want these types of stays. The reason someone would want to go through Furnish Finder versus Airbnb is it saves them a lot of money. So for example, someone staying in my unit, while I'm only getting $1,900, he's paying $2,400. And that money, that gap, that difference is going to Airbnb. So I don't mind because I'm still getting the net that I want. And like I told you, 90% of my bookings right now are through Airbnb. So I love Airbnb. And the host percentage is so small. It's such a nominal fee for basically free marketing. So on Hospitable, when someone comes through Furnish Finder, I take them off platform. I put them through apartments.com, but only Avail pays me, so use Avail. And I put them through apartments.com, and then I do this automatic or this manual button called I have a booking, and I put them manually into Hospitable. Okay, so why would I do that? Because Hospitable costs money. The reason that I do that is that my cleaner gets an automated message and an automated calendar invite an automated reminder, and the Schlage encode lock communicates with Hospitable and automatically makes their door code only work the day of check-in at 3 p.m. So if they're in my driveway, yesterday, Linda was trying to get in early. Well, it doesn't work. The code doesn't work until 3 p.m. And then on the day of checkout, the code is no longer working after that, 10 or 11 a.m. checkout. And it's usually the last 4 numbers of their phone number, which makes them feel very cool. And so I love Hospitable. I could talk all day about it. I think it's fantastic. So that's my workaround. And they know, Furnish Finder knows that we would like a better solution. Hospitable knows that we want them to communicate with Furnish Finder, and they keep saying we're working on it. So I don't know, maybe 2025. Yeah, good question. Any other questions?
Are all of your units pretty small, like 1 or 2 bedroom, or do you have any like larger 4 or 5 bedroom?
Great question. So at this time, all of my units in Omaha are 1 bedroom, 1 bath in those 2 fourplexes. Someone said it was like a boutique hotel, and I was like, no, but thank you. So they're all 1 bedroom, 1 bath. My units in Des Moines that are furnished, they are 2 bedroom, 1 bath. So I know my avatar. My avatar is the travel medical professional, someone looking for temporary housing. Last month, I hosted someone who had just moved to Omaha and is trying to buy a house. If I was a real estate agent in Omaha, those are the types of tenants I would want, because then you should be getting the commission when you find that person their home. So if you're an agent, please invest. So my solution for people who want to buy bigger houses is something called ALE Solutions and Corporate Housing by Owner. These are where I would list my house if I owned larger rentals, and I do think it's a great idea. My very first house I bought in Prairie Village, Kansas, a name so cute it feels like it's made up. And it's a 4 bedroom, 2 bath. And when my long-term tenant moves out next year, I will be turning that into an MTR. And my target audience for these larger MTRs will be what's called displaced insurance policies. So if someone has a tragedy happen, like fire, flood, or there's some reason that they can't live in their house, which about every 80 seconds that happens to someone in the United States. And so it is a lot more common than you think. And 90% of the claims are all man-made. So it's not just in places where there's natural disasters, it could be anywhere. And so being a solution for those types of families pays incredibly. I have a student in my coaching program who has a 5 bedroom home, and she can usually get about $4,000 a month as a long-term rental. As a medium-term rental, traveling nurses type tenant, she can get about $6,000 to $7,000. But for the insurance claims, she makes $11,000 a month. So she just got a $33,000 booking 5 days ago. So Corporate Housing by Owner, ALE Solutions. And then if you guys are not using Chat GDP, just go on there and say, where can I find temporary housing solutions in Omaha? And I would look to build relationships with local. And I've tried with my smaller units to do that, and it just doesn't quite work as well. Also, I'm thankful I'm fully booked. I hope that continues to be so. Yes.
On your tenants that are through the insurance companies, are they, anytime I've dealt with insurance, it takes a long time to get paid. Do they pay promptly, or do you carry the note for a long time, or how does that work?
Yeah, great question. So with ALE Solutions, you're getting paid through them. And so just like Airbnb, you're getting that full first month's payment on day of check-in, and then you're getting paid every 30 days. Yeah, great question.
There we go. What I've been hearing a lot more about the nurse market changing, where there's not as many traveling nurses, and that's going to continue going downward. I personally transitioned out of short-term rental almost completely now into midterm, and I found a lot of luck with traveling construction workers, traveling electricians. That is pretty much filled up every one of my units right now. And I kind of joke that they're gone every weekend. It's usually a 50 to 60-year-old male. but all your throw rugs will be ruined because they never take off their boots. Have you started going down that path, or is there other trades that you've seen besides the nurses that you'd recommend that people look into?
Yeah, absolutely. So in Des Moines, I'm almost predominantly the types of trades that you're talking about. And what I love is that my cleaner goes in and she says, I don't even think they use the kitchen. Like, it doesn't even look like someone lived here. And so that's what I love about really any MTR guest, is that the house is barely lived in. So it's really not as much wear and tear on the property as I assumed it would be. As for your first question about the traveling nurses going down, is we're having a huge problem in the United States with burnout with the medical professionals. 75% of medical professionals, including doctors, surgeons, and nurses, do not see themselves in the industry in 2 years. This is a huge problem. Like, we have a huge aging population. Everyone's getting sicker. And this is going to be a huge issue. And so because of these vacancies at the hospitals, we will continue to see travel medical professionals. Has the demand gone down in some places? Absolutely. But here in Omaha, it stayed really strong. So, yes.
So I use furnished finders for nurses.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the construction guys or whatever, do you find them more on Airbnb, or do they utilize furnished finders?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for right now, both of my trades tenants that I have, they found me on Airbnb, and then they're very smart and they do try to then book off platform, because like I said, they're paying a premium. And so I actually have a huge win, and this is a bit of a humble brag, but I had a Airbnb guest who is meant to move out on Thursday. And thankfully, I don't have someone living in the unit because he asked to extend until May. However, he doesn't speak English. And so he sent a message, and Airbnb does this. It's really cool. If you send a message in your native language, it translates to the native language of the host. And so the message I'm reading is in English, but it tells me it was translated. And so I know that he's writing in Spanish. And he's like, yeah, we can hop on the call, but I'm sorry, I don't speak English. And I was like, well, I don't really speak Spanish, but we can try. And you guys, I spend a lot of time in South America. And so I was able to negotiate and explain all of my lease terms in Spanish 2 days ago. And I'm so proud. Thank you. And so he came off through Airbnb, then I'll move him off platform. And so I've done that a few times, but you do need to be really careful. Airbnb does not like this. It's really important that you talk very cryptically and you try to get them on the phone. But as the host, you can call your guests anytime. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I have like 3 questions for you.
Okay.
Okay, first one, you said you had a guest staying for 84 nights. Are you charging him by night or a monthly rate?
Monthly rate.
Okay. Also, reading your book, you've said that we can have access to your lease. That you put together for your
So that was actually my co-author.
Okay.
Because she must have a different attorney than me, because my attorney said, do not do that.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what I do. I use Avail. And
Okay.
so I use the lease through Avail. I have sent it to my attorney. I think my attorney charged me $350, and he's like, I don't love this lease, but sure, you can use it because I'm renting in 3 different states.
Okay.
So if you use Avail, you can do that. And then I think if you pay, I want to say it's like $9 a month, you can get Avail Premium. I think if you use my code, it'll give you $50. And then you can add clauses. And so there are specific clauses that I've added in, all advised to me by my attorney. But I am not an attorney. This is not legal advice. I
Gotcha.
only play one on TV.
Okay. And then the last thing I want to know is about how do you figure out how much to charge?
Yes, great. This is probably
So are
one
you
of the
using
yeah.
Airbnb or?
Yes. So what I'm doing, it's not a magic wand when it comes to MTRs. You don't have these beautiful pricing labs, pricing dynamics, all of this really good data that you have like you do with short-term rentals. So if you go to my website, sarahdweaver.com/MTR guide, I have made a 4-minute video showing you exactly how I do it. Yeah. And I think you'll be very underwhelmed. You're like, really? That's it? But it will tell you that's just, there's not enough data that you're really just kind of looking. And then the best thing that I did is I built relationships with you guys. And so I went on Airbnb and I messaged probably about 50 to 60 hosts. Only 5 of you got back to me. The rest of you are dead to me. But I built relationships with other hosts, and I asked like, hey, are you really full? Are you really able to get that type of money? Anything else I should know before I invest in the area? And then what's really cool is that we'll text each other, hey, I just got a lead, but I'm fully booked, and vice versa. So build relationships with other people. I mean, Sadie has given me, her son came over to put together a couch. I use her handyman, and I gave you a photographer. You gave me a cleaner. And so it really is helpful to build relationships with people who are in this room that own rental properties. Yeah. I think they're 890, so about 900.
What was the question?
What is the square footage of those one bedrooms? They're about 900.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, so you said that we could ask you anything on the finance side.
Okay.
So I'm a finance guy.
Okay.
But I'm more wondering about that partnership agreement
Yeah.
or kind of what you did on that Benson property. You brought somebody in, you didn't have the cash. And so how did that work for you? Did you learn any lessons from it that you could expel upon?
Yes, absolutely. So the question's about partnerships. So let me tell you about my latest partnership and all the lessons I learned from that first partnership. I don't think my partner's in the room, but this is probably being recorded. So thank you for asking that question. So my latest partnership, what I did is I found the deal, which means you guys know my investor-friendly agent found the deal. And let me go back to how I met that partner. So this girl, I was at a real estate investor retreat, and we're all sitting around kind of doing hot seat style. So we're presenting a challenge and everybody's kind of weighing in. And her challenge is that she's really stressed out. She works about 120 hours a week, and she makes a ton of money. So a ton of money for me is she makes $670,000 a year. Yeah, but she's stressed, and she's sitting here telling us that she wants to learn how to run an Airbnb because her CPA told her that she needs to get real estate status, something. We're like, first of all, you're not gonna be able to do that because you work too much. But she needs to have active income through her short-term rental. And I'm just looking at her and I was like, you should never be an Airbnb host. You are so you're stressing me out just like breathing. Like owning an Airbnb is going to kill you. And you're probably 35 years old. And so I, of course, say this as nicely as I can. And she right away is like, I like you. I'm like, good, because we are going to figure out a way to help each other. So I text my agent right then and there. And I was like, I just became very rich. Go find me a property. And the very next day, he found me this duplex, which I believe I have in the slide. So I'll go to it. And it looked so good because 4 days after meeting this woman, I was able to call her, show her my spreadsheet. You probably won't be impressed with my spreadsheet because it's very simple, but my spreadsheet on what I think it's going to make as an LTR, what it could make as an MTR, what it could make as an STR. And I said, here's what's going to happen. I find the deal. I manage the deal. I manage all renovations, all tenants. You never, ever have to do anything except accept a check every quarter. What will this cost you? The down payment, all of the renovation costs, and the furnishing. And she says, I will do that, but you're paying for the furniture. And I'm like, okay, I own a furnishing company, so fine. So she wanted me to have a little bit of skin in the game. So it's exactly what we did. We split equity 50-50, and we split cash flow 50-50. So we went under contract. I wanted her to put the loan in her name. She clearly is never going to have a DTI problem, a debt to income problem. And so she didn't care. She's very lendable. So she put the loan in her name. After close, we did a quick claim deed into our LLC. I put $1,000 in a bank account. She put $1,000 in a bank account. Our LLC obviously owns that bank account. And we waited until we got to, I think, $22,000. And then we decided we'd take our first owner distribution. Clearly, she doesn't need the money. Frankly, I don't really need the money. But we did our first owner distribution actually last month. And she's really happy and I'm really happy. I almost never call her. I called her for like the first couple, our fridge broke. I need to buy a new fridge. That's what you're going to see the money come out. And she's like, don't call me for anything less than $5,000. I said, deal. And so she's one of my favorite people. She actually drove me to the airport last month when I spoke in Austin, Texas. And so, yeah, I rarely ever talk to her, and she's my favorite partner. So what did I learn from the first partnership is that I don't want to talk to my partner. And so I want a silent partner. So if you're in this room and you want to be silent and you don't want to work and you just want to make money and you want me to do all the work, then come find me. I'll go find you a deal. And so the great thing about partnerships is you can do it however you want. So that very first partnership, I brought half the down payment. She brought half the down payment. And I'm doing a lot more of the work because I'm the experienced real estate investor. And so I realized I wasn't getting the best deal in that first partnership because why did I have to bring any money is what I realized. And so the next deal that I did was with someone who I went to college with, but I posted on Instagram a lot about travel, and someone on BiggerPockets, who's very rude, David Green, he was like, it looks like you like travel way more than real estate. And I was like, it looks like I have a lot of fun. And you are right. So I listened to David Green's advice and I started posting more about real estate. And I am so internally grateful for David Green for saying that, because I started posting about real estate and I got one of my favorite DMs to date. He is someone I went to college with. I now know that he had a massive crush on me. I did not know this at the time of getting the DM. And his exact words were, "What the fuck do you do?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm a real estate investor. I help people make money through real estate investing. What do you do?" And he's like, "Well, I've been lending to these flippers, but they're starting to slow down." This was 2020, 2021. And he's like, "So I have all this money that I don't know what to do with." And I was like, well, that's great, because it's exactly what I do. I help people with money make money without working. And by the way, I'd only done this once at this point in time, you guys. So like a lot of what you do is about how you present yourself. And so same thing. He was like, "Cool, go find us a deal." And I was like, I don't know if I want to like be equity partners with you, because that's like a marriage. And like an average American marriage, it'll probably last 3 to 5 years and end in turmoil. And so I was like, so what I want to do is I want to do a private lending situation where you're my private lender, you get a guaranteed return, and it's short term. It's a one night stand. Everybody leaves happy. And so I decided to be a private he became my private money lender on that BRRRR that I told you guys about that I did in Des Moines. And so it was my first time using hard money, my first time investing in Des Moines. I still had never been there. My first time doing a long distance renovation and using private money, all because I was like, I think I can do this. And because it went really well, we did decide to become equity partners on another deal that I found about a month later. Because when I turned around and I gave him his money back, he's like, whoa, 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 I don't want my money back. He's like, I liked making that, 7 or 9%. And I was like, well, sorry, I don't have another deal. And he said, well, go find one. And so that's exactly what I did. And now I'm on the other side. Now I'm lending as a private lender. And I'm like, oh, this is very fun. I like that 11.5% when I just have to click some buttons. And so any other questions? Did I answer all your questions about partnerships? Okay, cool. Oh.
Yeah, you have to come with the mic. Yeah. Otherwise, everybody in line doesn't see you or doesn't hear you. So my question for you is, you had this crystal clear buy box a few years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago now. How has that buy box changed in the last 12 months, and what does it look like now?
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys have heard, but cash flow is a little less sexy these days. So my buy box has changed. I am now at a place in my life, financially as well, which I'm so proud to say, that I don't need the cash flow, but I want it to cash flow. And so I'm not buying anything that doesn't cash flow. So I do want it to cash flow, but I have changed my kind of mindset around investing. And now I look at every deal and I say, do I want this in my family? Do I want this property in my portfolio? Because a couple of my properties, I don't really like them. They're like that really annoying cousin that always has a problem. And so there are some properties that I've purchased that they just always have a plumbing issue. And if I had known then what I know now, I would have just redone the plumbing or rewired. For those of you that have been investing a long time, it's just smart to just tear it up, put in the same appliances, the same everything. But that's fun when you have money. But at the beginning, I didn't have the money. And so I couldn't do that. I was just bandaging some of these problems. And so now when I'm looking at properties, I want it to either be so bad and have enough cushion that I can go in and gut it. And that's my preference. I really love value add. I love a project. I love telling people what to do. And so I love that, but I would buy something that is just a pretty decent turnkey, which I have bought a couple turnkey properties. And then I'm going bigger. So I was just a GP or a general partner on 197 units in Texas. And that was really fun. Turns out I love talking about money. So that came in really handy to be a GP. But really, I love the duplexes. I would love to continue to buy duplexes, make one side an LTR, and hopefully that entire rent payment pays the mortgage. It did when rates were 4%. But now I will turn one side into an MTR. So for me, that keeps me pretty chill because I know no matter what happens with the MTR atmosphere, I always have that long-term tenant on one side. And it's less startup costs because furnishing costs money. But it's painless when you hire REIA Design Services. So, Uncle Owen.
Hey.
Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you. So my question for you is, in all of your travels to all these different countries, why have you never bought anything anywhere else?
Yeah, good.
I'd love to hear, like, is it just challenging because of the different laws and nuances of property ownership? Like, what say you?
Yeah. Oh, this is such a good question. So it is my goal to buy a property abroad if it gives me visa or residency. So as much as I would love to buy something in Mexico, I don't really need to become a resident in Mexico. There's much easier avenues for
Like
residency.
marriage?
I mean, okay. Estoy soltera, so. So I'm really looking in Europe. I would love access to the EU, and that's a big chunk of change. So financially, I'm just not there yet. I can't justify spending $400,000 on a property yet. Also, I'm traveling too much. And so it has, to date, it's almost never been a problem that I'm like overstaying visas because I travel so frequently. But in my, older age, I would love to settle down
Hey, easy. I'm your older uncle here. Okay, you got a ways to go yet before you get these guys going.
So in an ideal world, I would have 2 to 3 kind of home bases, and you'd probably like to stay longer than 90 days. And so in order to do that, you need to have some type of residency or some type of visa. So that's my answer. Then also the cash flow is so good. So very back to my motto, like live where you want and invest where the numbers make sense. The cash flow is incredible here in Omaha. And so I will continue to invest in Omaha and then use all that cash flow. And this year I traveled 9 months. And every month I'm like, okay, well, my budget is, let's just do $1,875 because that's how much I'm getting paid to not live in my unit in Omaha. And so I have a budget of $1,875. I usually go over that budget because I'm learning that having nice things and not living in a van with no toilet is kind of nice. But yeah, that's really my answer. For those of you that are interested in buying something abroad, please message me because I have a ton of resources because a lot of people that are in that game really want me to like start speaking on that platform. But I'm also not very committal. So I don't know where I would want it to be. Does anyone here own abroad? Where? In Belize? In Colombia? In Medellin? Oh, that's like one of my favorite places.
What do you think in all your travels, like where has been the most similar to the US and how property ownership works? Because
nowhere.
Is it just like everybody rents?
They're like, did you guys learn nothing from 2008? And I'm like, yeah, I have 19 units and no job. And they're like, what? So yeah, there's only 3 countries in the world that have a 30-year mortgage. Almost no first world country has a 30-year fixed mortgage. So yeah, we're really lucky. I was a little bit of a hater when I was living abroad. I'm like, oh, America has this problem and this problem. And now I'm a millionaire and I'm so, so grateful to be American.
What are the 3 countries? Sarah, what are the 3 countries?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask that. 2 of them are African countries. And so I don't remember which ones. I'm going to have to get back to you. Yeah.
Great job tonight. You killed it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Don't worry. I'll leave room for a few more questions. I'm going to get through a few more slides and then I'm going to come back to you.
Okay, sounds good.
Sorry. All right. So can I get my screen back? All right. So this is the property that I bought with the private money lender turned equity partner. He's not as silent as I would like him to be. And he knows that. I've told him over beers. I'm like, you're rich. Please stop bothering me over $200. So here's the numbers on a simple duplex. I wanted to show you guys this. So I bought it for $185,000. It rents one side. The bottom is a long-term tenant at $850. The upstairs is $1,900 during the summer. My PITI is $884. Do you guys like those numbers? Also, makes me sound very stupid, but I'm very busy. If you guys haven't noticed, REIA Design is only one of 3 companies that I run, so I'm a little bit busy, and I'm traveling full time. And so I went under contract with this property while also under contract on another property. And I happened to go to Des Moines to be at my final walkthrough. And I'm in that top bedroom window. And I'm looking next door at this empty lot. And I said, hey, Chase is my real estate agent. I said, who owns the lot next door? And he goes, he's like, you do, you moron. And I was like, holy shit. I did not know that this came with the empty lot next door. So I have been talking to the county and kind of going through the process of figuring out how to subdivide and develop. And I love real estate because it's just always usually terrible surprises, but sometimes you get a really good surprise. And then this made me look like a savior when I went to go tell my partner. I'm like, oh, and by the way, I forgot to tell you, we got this lot. So they're excited about that. The negotiation did not go as planned when I was speaking Spanish. And so I did want to be transparent that I am getting $1,500 a month during the winter. And so my Omaha units have stayed pretty strong. I usually have to drop maybe $75, but in Des Moines, I am having to drop my price quite a bit in the winter. But as you can see, it's not a huge deal. I did not update that correctly. That should be $2,350. I did that while I was coming here. So that is my latest MTR that I negotiated. If you guys are interested in more, thank you, Ted, for re-listening to that episode. But more importantly, you should listen to the episode of Ted, Owen, and I. We had a lot of fun. I don't know if anyone's been on their podcast, but they get you drunk. And so that was fun. I love old fashions, and they love me. But here's what my portfolio looks like today. For a lot of you really experienced investors, this is a small portfolio. It's 8 properties. I became financially independent about property number 4. But keep in mind that my financially independent was like living like a dirty backpacker. And so I didn't have a, $4,000 mortgage or children or tuition or nice things. So it's really easy to become financially independent when you don't do your nails or really spend money at all. But I realized that I don't want to do that anymore. And so I will continue to buy real estate. But as I mentioned, I'm really focusing on my cash producing businesses right now, which brings me, oh yes, I did want to also show you this. So I love house hacking. So Ted was kind of talking about my buy box. And I think a lot of people are wondering what to do now that interest rates are high. Let me go back because I know none of you are listening to me. I'll pull that up in a second. So I know a lot of you are really frustrated that interests are really high. I would love to see half of this room move. I think that house hacking is one of the best wealth building strategies. And you can either do the live-in flip if you want to get divorced and live in a renovation, or you can renovate before you move in, enjoy it, let equity go up, and you can either flip it or turn it into a rental. But I really believe in the power of house hacking. And so I house hacked the first 3 properties, and I will house hack again. I just can't decide where. And as you guys can see, with the power of the BRRRR strategy, number 4 and number 5, House hacking, number 1, 2, and 3. And then partners, I've only put in $28,885 in down payments. And so I started my investing journey making $47,000. In the Midwest, that's an okay salary. There's probably people in this room making that amount of money, so I don't want to say anything terrible. But I never want to make $47,000 ever again, unless it's monthly. And I was able to build a pretty sizable real estate portfolio, just living really frugally. It's not very sexy. I'm not telling you to like not buy Starbucks, but I think that because I didn't level up my lifestyle early on, it really helped. And then I was really creative. And I want everyone to know that I was very scared the whole time. Like the moment I would go under contract, especially on the burr, I'm like, what if this doesn't work? I'm going to lose all my money. I'm going to have to sell all my houses. I'm going to have to move in with my parents. I can only live there for like 4 days without wanting to kill them. I'm going to have to make an OnlyFans account. And ooh, that sounds like a good story. Oh, grandma, she knows. She might have one. I don't know. So I think that writing down worst case scenario really helps you, like spelling out your fears. Obviously, I'm being a bit funny, but I was terrified. I was terrified I was going to lose all my money. I was going to look like an idiot. I would have to start all over. And my mentor said, okay, if you had to start all over, what would you do? 3 words: buy real estate. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess you're right. I better try it. And I'm really glad I tried it. Those properties appraised for about $40,000 more than I thought they would. And it added about $500,000 to my portfolio. So try to burr and house hack. So I take real estate investors on epic adventures. This is my favorite company. It's also the company that makes me the least amount of money, but it makes me a lot of friends because these are all real estate investors who said yes to adventure. And we do bucket list experiences all over the world. Sadie came to one of mine. How was it, Sadie? And we have spots for 2024. I did 10 trips this year in 5 countries. I would like to have a personal life next year, so I'm probably only going to do 5 trips, which is still a lot. But if you guys would like to come on one of the trips, make sure you snag this URL. It will tell you what is coming up in 2024, and it's a really fun way to spend your money. So if your CPA says that you need some expenses, call me. And I did mention our next trip is Antarctica. And no, it is not that cold. It will actually probably be the same temperature as Omaha. So don't be a baby. And I'll give you a coat. And if you sign up today, I'll also buy you a penguin onesie. So, and then if we have do we have any hikers in the room? Does anyone like to hike? Yeah. So this summer, I did my hardest thing to date. I hiked Kilimanjaro. Thank you. Thank you. Say that again. And it is 19,683 feet. It's 6 days up and 2 days down. By day 4, I was coughing blood. By day 6, I was vomiting, and I summited. And I'm really proud to say that nobody that looks like me was on that mountain. And so if you are wanting to challenge yourself, say yes to adventure because it was really, really cool. Next year, we will be hiking Patagonia. It's a 5-day hike, and you sleep inside. So that's pretty cool. It's like a hut-to-hut hike. So if that's more your style, call me. And I have 2 spots available for both Antarctica and Patagonia. And then my favorite trip to date was the African safari that we did this summer. Has anyone been on safari? What'd you think? Magic, right? I'm not a monster, so let me say that first, but I'm not like an animal person. Like, I like that you like your dog, but like, I don't like your dog. And so I was like, yeah, safari like will be cool. It was the most magical trip I've ever been on. And I've done some really cool stuff. And the safari was just like absolutely out of this world. And it was my favorite trip because you spend a lot of time in the car, like looking for animals, waiting for animals. And so what do we do with that time? we can't help ourselves. We talk about real estate. We talk about taxes. We talk about our dreams and our goals. And so the conversations had on Safari were absolutely amazing. And the whole thing is a tax write-off. So sign up today. And people can sign up for Kilimanjaro. There is no effing way I'm doing it again, but you should. So if you guys want more, if you are interested in information about REIA or invested ventures, I also have 12-month coaching program because you're probably going to have 100 questions after you go under contract and then 100 more when you have your first crazy guest. And so if you guys want continued support, feel free to reach out. Or if you just want to go on a trip and do cool shit, you should sign up. So excellent. We can take time for more. Oh, thank you. Can we take some more questions, Ted? Okay. Hell yeah.
Yes, my question is in regards to long-term debt, and obviously you're generating quite a bit of cash. So do you have any type of philosophy like trying to prepay and kill the debt as living on beans and rice, or do you prefer to keep blowing and going and buying, or obviously you like vacationing, but what is your, I mean, do you want to take 30 years to pay off a property, or do you want to double down and kill it in a very short period of time? I'm just curious as to your views on that.
Yeah, great question. So I think it's a really personal question. So everyone needs to have their own philosophy. So mine is that right now I'm really doubling down on the businesses. So my businesses are bringing in like well over 6 figures. So I'm really enjoying that. And then I'm turning that money into long-term wealth through real estate. And other than my BRRRR, I have not refinanced or even done a HELOC on any of my properties because at the end of the day, I'm still scared. Like I really want to be at least 60% loan to value before I start pulling any equity out of my house. For some of you, you're like, what the hell? You're sitting on all this equity. You should like pull it out and be really aggressive. But I like focusing on business a little bit more than I like buying a lot of real estate. And so for me, I'm just letting my tenants pay that money down. And my answer might change. I'm only 33. And so I have a lot of time, I hope. And so I think that might change as I get older. But I'm pretty happy with the way that the properties are going and putting like 20 to 25% down, especially when it's not my money. That's working really well. For those of you that do want to pay down aggressively, just make sure that you have a plan. I think I see a lot of investors just like pay down really aggressively because they don't like debt. And I think that that's fantastic, but just make sure that you're talking to an experienced real estate investor, a tax strategist, not just a CPA, but someone actually who has tax strategy so that you're looking at the whole picture. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a very, very cheap traveler. So it looks like I'm vacationing, but everything I do is a business expense. And so I actually have not gone on a vacation in like 2 years because it's all business. Yeah.
Couple questions for you. You said you've never been to Des Moines. How did you build your team there to do a BRRRR?
Yeah, great question. It starts with the investor-friendly agent. So my agent really is my like foundation. And then what I do is same thing I did here in Omaha. I had only been to Bellevue. I have cousins that I don't speak to that live in Bellevue. And so I really hadn't been to Omaha. When my agent kept saying how hip Benson is, I was like, probably not. Because I had never really been to Omaha. I'd been to your downtown area, which is called Old Market. I always call it River Market because that's what Kansas City's is called. But I didn't even really know Omaha. So I did the same thing here in Omaha that I did in Des Moines. And I got on Facebook. So yes, Gen Zers, their Facebook is still alive and well. And I joined a bunch of Facebook groups. And then this is really important. I lurked. So don't go in a Facebook group and just post, I need this. I have a question. I need a plumber. I need this. It's a little bit off-putting. And sure, people will answer you, but it's probably a desperate plumber who doesn't have work. So it's probably not the plumber that you want to hire. And so what I do is I just lurk. And so it's exactly how I got to know Ted is I'm like, okay, he posts really valuable stuff. Like I didn't know that he ran Omaha REIA. I didn't quite put that together, but I'm realizing like, okay, when someone comments or posts, he's commenting thoughtfully. Whereas someone else is kind of an asshole. So I'm probably not going to talk to that person. Or this person's just always complaining. So let's avoid them. And then there's someone else who's always posting like, wow, she just closed on her like 55th unit. So that's someone that I want to get to know. And so I just slowly, I'm like a professional stalker. I was a recruiter for 4 years and I've been online dating for way longer than I would like. And so I'm really good at looking up information about people. So yes, I do know your full name before I see you. And so I'm just learning all this information. I really do. I have a spreadsheet on some of you. And so I know a lot of information and I put it all in a spreadsheet. So that when I do need something, I ask thoughtfully, but I also make sure that I'm adding value. So at the very beginning, I had 20 minutes where I was inside 2 different Facebook groups for a total of 40 minutes a week. And I really did. I went in and I commented anywhere that I could add value. And I've been studying real estate, like basically 40 hours a week for about 4 years. And so it turns out I know a lot. And so when you add value to people, they're really quick to answer your text when you need a plumber, which by the way, I need someone to seal my chimney. So if someone can give me a contact for that, I would really appreciate it. Okay. Yeah, and that's what I did.
And then my other question is, so I have 2 MTRs, and they're in a smaller town outside of Omaha. It seems like I get nurses with families. The husband travels, the kids, that type of thing. But so I'm renting 3-bedroom, 1 bath for $2,000 a month.
Okay.
Which you're renting a 1-bed for the same amount.
Yep.
But I also think I'm losing out on the single nurses because they won't pay the $2,000.
Yeah. I really think you should double down on the insurance claims. A 3-bedroom, especially if you're in a smaller town, you might be the only provider in the area. And so I would really seriously get on the phone with some of those people. I have a few more resources that I don't have memorized that I can send over to you. So just reach out to me. I'll have my email on the last slide, but I really think that the insurance claims is the way to go.
So local insurance agents?
I would do both. I'd talk to the national providers like ALE Solutions and Corporate Housing by Owner, but then also look for local contacts as well.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
Me again. I do have a contact for chimney.
Thank you.
Okay. For your nurses, do you typically find that they like 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, or 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom?
They like my unit because it's really cute. And so I think that whatever you have could work. And so if I was going to go buy a property right now, I like 1 bedroom, 1 bath because a lot of you real estate investors that only do long-term rentals, those aren't very attractive to you. You like the bigger units. And so I find I don't necessarily get a discount on the 1 bedroom, 1 bath units, but I think that they're less desirable. So I'm super happy that I have them. And I think you're going to attract people either way. I do agree with him. A lot of my nurses bring their spouse. A lot of their spouses work remotely. It's the whole reason that the other partner is a travel nurse, is they want to go explore the country together. And so I do think it's important that you have a workspace, so like a desk and an office chair, so that person can work remotely. And then some other quick tips is you have to have a fantastic bed. It needs to be great. I like the Zinus 12-inch green tea mattress. If I was a better affiliate marketer, I'd have a link for that, but I don't. So Zinus, Z-I-N-U-S, 12-inch green tea mattress. Don't ever go less than 12 inches. It sucks. And then blackout curtains. I think you have to have blackout curtains. And then I've started to put a sound machine in my units, and I think that people really appreciate that. Yeah.
So, hi. Speaking of cute, how important is it that it's cute?
100% important.
And my second question is, how are you determining what a reasonable budget is for furnishing?
That's a great question. So unfortunately, we had this thing called inflation. I won't talk about why that happened, but furniture went up 26%. And so I used to be able to furnish a 1 bedroom for $5,000. It now is closer to 10. But I'm also lazy. So Sarah, even 2 years ago, loved Facebook Marketplace. I was driving all over trying to get a $10 Keurig. No, not today. Everything is getting shipped to the house. Sadie's son is putting it together, and I don't want to be involved. Or grandma. Thank you, grandma. And so I do think that convenience costs money. Can you furnish for cheaper? Absolutely. But what I highly recommend is that everyone who's thinking about listing in Omaha is go on Airbnb and look at your competition. Stuff is good. It's really good. If you go on Furnish Finder, it's terrible. And so, and then I think you only need to be 10% better than your competition. You don't need to be 100% better. We don't need neon signs and an Instagram wall if your ideal tenant is, oh no. Thank you so much for not drinking. So I think that you just need to really focus on your avatar. So like, I love that Ted brought up like the trades that he's looking for. So guess what they want? They want to have a 65-inch TV. And so what did I buy on Black Friday? A 55-inch TV for my tiny 1-bedroom. And I knocked on my Airbnb guest door and I was like, sorry to bother you. Would you like an upgrade on your TV? And she was stoked. And so I think stuff like that really does matter. And just focus on your your ideal avatar. Great question. Oh, and I'll give you a number. So REIA Design, we typically budget for a 1-bedroom. And this is medium-term rental in Omaha. This is not your bachelorette pad in Scottsdale, but a medium-term rental in Omaha, a 1-bedroom is going to start at $6,300 to $8,400. And then I have a breakdown of like how much more each bedroom costs. I believe it's like $1,500 to $1,800 per bedroom. If you want me to send that to you, I'll send it to you. Does it include your fees? Yeah. Okay. That number does not include my fees. Oh, okay. Yeah. That's just furniture.
I know we want to start wrapping up here, but I do have the greatest golden nugget that you gave on the episode 39 of REIA Radio. You were on there, you said every time you go to a new city, you look up the local REIA group and you look in the search bar and look up plumber. You look up so on and so on. I'll let you explain it, but it was like the best golden nugget that's been dropped for finding out the resources when you don't have the resources and why you did what you did.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll add on what I do now because it's way more fun. So what he's talking about is I'll kind of expand on using Facebook. I really, really use Facebook. Like my entire Des Moines team came from Facebook. And so I have what's called a vendor list. It sounds very fancy, but it's just a Google spreadsheet. And I have about 8 plumbers on there. And so what I'm doing is I'm going into the city's local REIA and if I don't know that there's a REIA, I'll just type in real estate investing Omaha, real estate Nebraska, real estate Lincoln, doesn't matter, like any type of combination. And then I join all the groups. And then you'll rarely ever see me post because I don't want to post, but I use the search button within the group. So I click on the search button. So you can do this on the Omaha REIA Facebook group. And if I'm looking for a plumber, I type in plumber. But what I try to do is I look for a plumber before I need one. Because we've all gotten that phone call. Usually it does not come at 2 a.m. I don't know why non-real estate investors think that. But when you get that phone call, you don't want to go down this rabbit hole of going on Facebook. So do it before you need it. And so my vendor list has about 5 to 8 trades for everything. There's always something that I'm like, oh, I don't got a guy to handle the tree, but now I do. So now I have an arborist on the list. And so that's all I did is I went into these Facebook groups and I searched plumber, and then you guys have already asked for a plumber. Other people have already commented who they're looking for. And so now, since the podcast, now my VA does this. So once a month, she does this for all 3 of my cities that I invest in. And she goes into all the Facebook groups, and her job is she needs to add 5 people to the vendor list every month. And she'll write notes even like Ted is the one who recommended this in the REIA group. So when I call that plumber, I'm like, hey, my buddy Ted recommended you. And so I'm writing all that information. And then your vendor list also kind of acts as like a log. And so as much as you love that guy that tiled your house, a year later, you can't remember that guy's name. Or come tax time, you realize, oh shit, I did not give that guy a 1099. So I need to figure that out. And so that also becomes a log. And then you better believe that there are people that get red lines through them because there are some guys that just aren't the best contractors. And so you better believe they don't get deleted off the list, but there is a nice red line through them. And so Noah in Omaha, you are dead to me. Yep. Anything else? Awesome. Yeah, go ahead. And then we'll wrap it up.
Hi, just wanted to say thank you all, or thanks so much. This is my first REIA event, so just wanted to say thanks for all the education and knowledge here. So I'm a financial advisor and CFP professional by day and then student by night with something that I'm not as familiar with, so the real estate investing side. I'm just curious in regards to, for someone that might be starting out, what are the common pitfalls that you see? And also if you have any sort of guidance or suggestions in regards to tax sales or tax liens. Just seems like it's a way that you don't need as much capital to potentially foreclose and get a property. And so I just didn't know if you had any sort of guidance or whether you would suggest going down that route if someone doesn't have as much capital or things along those pieces. So
Yeah.
thought I'd
Yeah.
ask
Great
your wisdom.
question. So first of all, I would love to see more financial advisors be pro real estate. So please keep coming to this event. Please keep educating yourself because we need more financial advisors that are pro real estate. And to your first question about taxes, I'm not an expert. So is anyone in the room have experience with that? Perfect. Our sponsor today is an expert. There you go. Jordan, want to wave? Excellent. So I would speak to them afterwards because I do think it's a really great niche. It's not my niche. But what I would do is, and you asked about common pitfalls for new investors. I think people take too long to buy something. From the moment that I decided to be a real estate investor to the moment I went under contract was about 3 weeks. And so I think, like, why not? Like, what's the worst that can happen? It also is very helpful that I'm worked fully remotely. So I'm like, yeah, sure, I can live in this place because if I hate it, I'm just going to go to Mexico. So that was helpful. So I didn't have to like love my house. But I think house hacking is what everyone should be doing. I really believe in delayed gratification. I think that if you can live uncomfortably for 4 years, you could live really comfortably for 4 decades. And so I really recommend that you house hack and just don't buy a bad deal. Like I really educated myself. I read financial books for fun. That was the type of kid that I was. So it might sound a little irresponsible to move that quickly, but I had a pretty good understanding of how it worked. But I think people take too long. Why not? So buy something. And I think house hacking is a really good way to start. Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. Well, thank you guys so much. Cheers.
We had to get started right around here. So thank you, Sarah, so much. Little did she mentioned she used to work right underneath Gary Keller. That probably helped a little bit of confidence there too, huh?
Yeah, a little.
We're gonna skip one section here, but I'm gonna wrap it up with our giveaways. And a couple giveaways we have. First over here is we're giving away. We're not. Midwest Removal is giving away a bottle of Woodford Reserve double baked.
I guess I shouldn't look, right?
You can look. Just pull my card.
Play favorites. All right, we got Tim Jensen.
Tim Jensen, you have to be here to claim your bottle. There's Tim. What's Tim do? Tim is a realtor at Nebraska Realty. Tim is coming over here to get his bottle, and thank you guys. Thanks, Joe. We have 2 giveaways over here at Entry Envy. You want to do the book, or you want to do your gift card first? Let's do the book first. So, yeah, this is my copy we're giving away. It's personally autographed by Sarah and Ziona. 30-day stay.
Okay, draw. Don't draw yourself.
No, you gotta draw.
All right. Okay, who do we have?
It's a handwritten note. It's getting opened up slowly. And it's Jason Young. Come on down for your free book. Okay. And then the last one, Jason's coming right now. There you go, buddy.
This is for the $199 gift card to Entry Envy. Okay. A 10.
I put my card in there. I can't win. It's all good.
You knew that was going to happen. And another Denless.
Our sound guy. So she pulled 2 of my cards, by the way. He can't win either. He can't win either. You already got one of these. He's already got this on his house too.
He does already have it on his house. All right. I think I should have somebody else draw. I'm failing here.
Actually, I thought you were winning. That didn't sound good at all.
Amber Bess.
Amber, stand on up, Amber. Where are you at? Amber, where are you at? Hey, oh, there you are.
I'll email you your gift card. I'll email it. You
Amber, we messed with you twice today. Hey, it was Owen's fault. He started it. So, hey, thank you to our sponsors for those giveaways. Couple things. If it is your first time to the Omaha REIA group, this is a question I like to ask. I feel it helps get to know who's around you. Who's new here? Never been, first-time rookies? We only had 3-4 people, and then we got a few more than that. So, hey, look around you, and I'm asking these quick questions, and we'll get out of here. If you're a multifamily owner, can you guys raise your hand if you own a multifamily? We don't know who's around you, so you guys can make those connections. If you have a property management company, can you raise your hand? If you're an investment or real estate agent, can you raise your hand? How about traditional real estate agents? Any traditional real estate agents in the room? Any staging experts in the room? 2 hands. There we go. And where's our single family property owners? Traditional renters. Yep, traditional renting. Where's our Airbnb? Where's our midterms? And where's who owns storage units? Any storage unit holders? How about what am I missing? Trailer parks? I can't call them that. I always mobile home parks. Thank you, mobile home parks. I'm so bad at being PC. My mobile home park people. What else am I missing? Anything else? Flippers? RV, Airbnb people. There you go. I got you. So cool. Hey, there's lots of people in the room. If you're new and you want to get in one of those businesses, look at the person next to you and talk to them. Please support the staff. They take amazing care of us. That's the main reason we come back to this place every time. So the staff's so amazing. We go to Burger Theory next door. We have the sponsors still set up, so say hi to them. But try to be out here in the next 10 minutes so the crew can come here and clean after you. But your tabs will transfer over next door if you guys want to keep on having some fun. And if you guys have any questions for me throughout, I appreciate it. And if you enjoy the content that we're putting on here on Omaha REIA or on REIA Radio, we ask for a 5-star review or get on Google, give us a review for Omaha REIA. We really appreciate it. It does a lot for us. So thank you. Have a great night. And Sarah Weaver, you kicked ass tonight. Thank you. Appreciate it. And thank you, DB Video, for all your production work. And Dennis, appreciate you, buddy.